right to property. So the notion that Democrats and statists, communists, whatever, believe that you need government permission to say who you're going to marry is crazy. And that's why it matters how you get there. If you think we need to pass a law for this, that, and the other, you're doing it wrong. You are implying that we need government permission. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking, but Dustin, how else do we do it? Well, the answer is you just start doing it. And for proof of that, look at all of these states having their gay marriage bans being overturned by the courts. Virginia, Florida, Utah, Texas is soon to be on there, I'm sure, New Mexico. All of these states are having their gay marriage bans overturned because they're obviously not constitutional. There's no way that the government has a vested interest in telling people who they can or cannot marry. It's not a matter of public safety or public good. Now, arguably, there are some health issues that come with gay relations, especially with gay men. And then, there's the prevalence of STDs in the gay community. But these health issues, until they're addressed with proper research, there's still not a vested interest from government. And even then, it comes down to the freedom to doing whatever the hell you want, as long as you are not using force against somebody else, as long as you're not using force against another individual. So it matters how you get there. And these are the sorts of ideas that I'm trying my very best to impart on all of you. I am trying to get as many of you as I can to understand that we don't need government's permission for things that are inalienable rights. We need to just start doing them or take them to court because obviously they are not constitutional. They're not. There's no way. Now, granted, you do have some courts that would disagree with me, but these are the same courts that approve segregation. These are the same courts that approved Roe v. Wade. These are the same courts that approve affirmative action and uphold gay marriage bans in some cases. Not often, but some cases. These are also the same courts that uphold the selective service, the draft. Understand, it's not a question whether or not these things are unconstitutional. If you're rooted in principle, you believe in life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, you believe that your rights stem from your right to life and your right to live that life, your right to productive work and the fruits of it, your right that you live your life for no man, then it's perfectly understood what I'm saying. It's not a question. It's a fact. And that's something we need to impart on everybody. That's something that everyone needs to learn. Because the idea that we have two parties that pick and choose which notions are things that can be banned, things that can be regulated, things that should be allowed and things that shouldn't be allowed. The notion that we have people that pick and choose like this is insane. For instance, you've got the GOP now talking about immigration reform, and Republicans seem to think that the government needs to get a handle on all these illegal immigrants, get them documented, and then kick them out or put them on some sort of work permit thing, but no citizenship, and this, that, and the other. But they seem to forget this is the same government that they don't trust to run health insurance. It's the same government that they don't believe is capable of running taxes. This is the same government that they think should not be doing background checks or licensing on guns. Look, I am all for freedom, but let me put it to you like this. You can't be against government regulation or government intervention in one aspect because government sucks, and then turn around and say that government needs to get involved in citizenship and they'll do a good job of regulating it. Clearly they won't. And they never will, because government is inefficient and ineffective. It is sluggish. It is lazy. And it is altogether an evil. Now, I'm not an anarchist by any means, and I would never purport to be one. I believe in a constitutionally limited government, which is significantly smaller than what we've got now, which many of you know. But the idea that government should get involved in this and not that, when in reality it's both government regulation, is something that conservatives really need to look into. It's something that needs to be pointed out, I believe. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about some of the headlines today and a conversation I had earlier with some other people I thought was pretty interesting. I'm going to share that with you folks after this. Okay, folks, quick little break. We're back. Now, there's something I want to talk about here, because some of these people on Facebook, they bring up these arguments, and it is something that needs to be addressed. It's like a moth to a flame for me. I see these horrible political arguments, and I say to myself, gee, I really need to make sure that my fans aren't thinking this way, that my listeners are not sitting at home thinking the things that these people are thinking, because we can't. I would feel like a horrible person who's not doing their job if I let you go on thinking that way. I would feel horrible. So I'm going to do you folks a favor, and I'm going to try and prevent some of these horrible thoughts, because quite frankly, there's some people out there that spread some seriously flawed logic, and they pass it off as political philosophy. They pass it off as informed knowledge, and it's not. It's charlatanism, intellectual inferiority. It's laughable at best. And because of the way they dress it up, a lot of people could read it and be like, "Oh, that sounds about right." And that's I don't want you folks doing that. I don't want you folks to be at a party and somebody's talking about liberty and you're like, "Well, I think your freedoms are great, but we need to regulate it just a little bit because you could suck real bad if I don't tell you how to live your life." And that's basically what it's tantamount to. And you know, any intelligent libertarian or you know, freedom-minded individual will smack you right down. So we should just nip that in the bud. I'm going to do what I can. Okay, Reason Magazine is catching some flack because it wrote a wrote a piece about Ben Shapiro, who is a conservative wonderkind. Many people think that Ben Shapiro is this great, you know, new conservative voice, and he's a really smart guy, etc., etc. I haven't made my way through Bullies yet, that book that he wrote, but he did, you know, take it to Piers Morgan. At the same time, he's also not the greatest debater, but overall, he seems like a fairly intelligent guy. That being said, he is a conservative. He is a staunch conservative. He's not a liberty-minded individual, and as such, he believes in some government regulation, which is not an acceptable thing. It's something that, you know, requires constant vigilance. Basically, Ben Shapiro wrote an article about Philip Seymour Hoffman's death by drugs. Philip Seymour Hoffman died shooting heroin. They've not officially confirmed that yet, but the guy was found with a needle in his arm and heroin all over his apartment. It's implicit, and it's going to come out when the autopsy results are done, which I believe they're supposed to come out today. Might not be till tomorrow because it's government, and that's how that works. So I'm on Facebook just minding my own business, trying to, peruse what's going on, and I come across somebody posting this article saying that Reason was out of line for attacking Ben Shapiro. Now, Reason magazine is a libertarian magazine, and they attacked Ben Shapiro because he blamed libertarianism without morality for Philip Seymour Hoffman's death, basically saying that Hollywood is immoral, which I'm sure most of us agree, and that because they don't have morality and they have this libertarian streak, Philip Seymour Hoffman lost his life. That he died from, this drug overdose because Hollywood is accepting of drug use because libertarianism, and they think this abusive behavior is okay because they don't have any morals. And he used the word libertarianism as part of blaming why Philip Seymour Hoffman died, why he OD'd. And this whole notion of culture war in that aspect is unacceptable. And Reason, in my mind, and I think in most of yours because you're smart and you listen to my show, Reason magazine was right for attacking Ben Shapiro. You don't get to say that freedom killed somebody when it was their choice that killed them. Sure, they're free to make the choice, but it wasn't the fact that they were free to make a choice. It wasn't the fact that he's free, which he's not in our country. It's not the fact that this guy chose to inject so much heroin into him, his brain shut down. That's not why he died. He died because he chose to shoot up more heroin than anybody should be doing ever. Which, of course, I think any heroin is too much heroin. But if you're going to choose to do it, don't kill yourself. Pretty easy rule to follow, to my mind. And Ben Shapiro, I don't know where he gets off saying that it's libertarianism that makes this happen. It's unacceptable. And as such, I used an example in this little discussion here. I said, if somebody wants to shoot enough heroin to kill themselves, they have the right to do so. I think if you want to die, you should have the right to die. I mean, the notion that people try to kill themselves and then, the government comes in and locks them down in a jail cell and straps them to a chair, or, straps them down in a jacket in a padded room, or, handcuffs them to a hospital bed so they can't do anything. That's insane. If somebody wants to die, let them die. You should be able to choose to end your own life. It's not even up for debate. I mean, if government is in charge of your own life, that's the outcome, is that you cannot end your own life because you're not in charge of it. You don't have a say in how your life goes. But the point is, Philip Seymour Hoffman chose to be an addict when he chose to start doing heroin, and he was clean and sober for 23 years. And after that 23 years, he got in an accident of some kind, had to take painkillers, some pain pills, prescription, and eventually he started smashing them up and snorting them. And it devolved and spiraled out of control from there. Now, addiction is a horrible thing, but at any point he could have chosen to get help. He could have said, I don't want to be an addict, and gotten treatment for his addiction. Sure, you can argue that people don't choose to be addicts, but you cannot argue that people aren't able to make the choice to not be addicts anymore. It is a matter of willpower. It's a matter of choice.